Okay, so I'll try to go this real quick. Okay, given that we have so many customers talking about Aerospike, I don't think I'm going to spend time about why what we have done is good. Is it okay? It's closer. Okay. Uh, so I'm not going to spend time on that. I'm going to spend time more on how we are thinking about our roadmap. What is the philosophy? What are we trying to build next, right? So that's what I want to spend time on. I'm not going to focus on these things. Srini has already touched on these. So, and this is something that Subbu introduced, and this sort of is going to become a guiding principle for us going forward on how we think about what is new that we want to build. And I want to say one thing here, like Subbu said, we have learned a lot from a lot of our customers, but we continue to learn every day. So even now, I think we had Ilias spend passionate 10 minutes with me trying to explain to me how we can do much better in this context. And my response is we definitely solicit feedback, and we would love to talk to people who have anything to add to how we can help them in the machine learning context. But more concretely, we've done a bunch of things in the past. I won't go over this list. We can share this with you. But Elasticsearch, we got our database 6. We did something. There is the Aerospike cloud that got announced and a bunch of things. But what I want to spend time a little bit is in a geeky diagram. That kind of tries to talk about how we're thinking about our roadmap. And the dark green, well, the dark green is not looking dark green, but it's looking black. Anyway, the core database and the client libraries are things that you guys are very well aware of. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what is coming next. But we are definitely starting. You just heard what shall we call it? A petition for AMC. So that is definitely a core focus. Although I'm not sure it'll be the same AMC UI that you will see, but we are investing in an observability and management UI. And the Grafana dashboards, and we're updating them. Graph was announced, and vectors and Aerospike cloud. So we'll touch upon each one of these. These are kind of, at a high level, the point that I'm trying to convey here is things are in various stages of construction. The dark green is much more mature, the lighter green is a little bit more mature, and the graph is just coming out, and other things are under construction. But what you can see from this is we are building on our core database strength. I mean, all of you people use our core database. You're talking a lot about it. You love it. But now we are using that as the basis for building our next generation of products. And I think that's what this is trying to communicate, right? Whether it's graph, whether it's vectors, whether it's providing these as managed services using Aerospike cloud. That's really what's going on. I mean, in a strategic sense. Yeah. I'll quickly run through our database plan. I think the most exciting thing here is MRT, multi-record transactions. That'll be coming out early next year. So we will have the ability, you heard Srini talk about strong consistency and how we support single record transactions. So we will expand all that goodness to multi-record transactions. And that'll be a huge win. I have heard enough customers, even in this visit, saying, hey, when is it going to come? We are waiting for that. I will not go over the smaller details. I'll also skip the clients. These are sort of some sneak previews of our UI for observability and management. And we definitely hear you on the AMC. So we will. One of the things that I'll go back and tell my team is if there are any interesting things in the AMC UI that is missing in this UI, we should add it to this UI. I want to spend maybe a minute on graph and a minute on vectors. Okay, so that's my goal. As far as graph is concerned, consider this our sort of next small evolution towards serving AI ML well. As many of you know, there are identity graphs, property graphs, that store things about users, personalized information, who is in their family, so on and so forth. And this gets looked up in real time many times. The way we are handling graph from an engineering or an architectural perspective is we are building it on top of our database. So if you see to the right is our database. And somewhere in the middle is what's called the Aerospike graph service. And that Aerospike graph service is a Think of it as a bunch of compute-only nodes that relies on the Aerospike database for storage. And this compute nodes can scale independently of the storage. So for the first time in Aerospike, we are getting this separation of compute and storage, which is going to be a huge win for you guys from a TCO perspective and elasticity perspective. So that's an interesting thing that's happening. But essentially, the Aerospike Graph Service uses, today it supports Gremlin, tomorrow it will support Cypher, but today it supports Gremlin and uses Apache Tinkerpop and some API that we have built on top of our database. And I think the key thing to note is, if you remember, Srini sort of walked through our design principles. Those design principles carry through for everything we build, whether it's graph, whether it's vectors, and we inherit the goodness of our database for everything we build. So right off the bat, the graph that you'll get, you can be assured it can be strongly consistent if that's what you want. You can be assured it will be highly available if that's what you want. So everything that you expect comes for free. So that's something that's important to keep in mind here, okay? So I also want to spend, I don't have any slides on vectors, but I want to spend a minute on vectors. What we are planning to do is really using, as some of you are aware, vectors have become a sort of a de facto, I almost want to call it representation of choice, whether it's an image, whether it's a text, whether it is a video, whether it's some other snippet. Everything is sort of getting into embeddings in this modern age, and they become vectors. And many of our customers have come back to us and said, hey, why can't you store vectors natively? And not only that, why can't you do similarity search within your database? Because people are using similarity search outside, then they find that they have to make a lot of accesses. It's very inefficient. And so we will be supporting similarity search within our databases, and we'll be using something called HNSW, which is hierarchically navigable small words. That's about full. But that's a secondary index that helps you sort of do what's called an approximate nearest neighbor search, right? So that's something that we are super excited about. And if anything, this visit has only sort of reaffirmed our faith that this is something that people are really looking forward to. I'll spend a few minutes on Aerospike Cloud and then I'll conclude. This is the last topic. So as we build all of these things, one of the things we are realizing is there are many greenfield projects, both within large enterprises as well as startups, that would benefit a lot from us managing the database. As I think I was mentioning this to Subbu, I think I'm super impressed and humbled by all of you guys who have tamed Aerospike in some ways, right? So it's quite a handful to manage. And what we are doing now is trying to sort of take away the management headache, at least from people who don't want to do that, who don't want to manage it, right? So this will be a managed service in the cloud, targeted at a little bit more, let's call it pre-production databases or individuals or before production. So I mean, some things could carry over to production in small instances, but we would also automatically kind of carry that forward to what is called Aerospike Cloud Enterprise, where the goal of Aerospike Cloud Enterprise is exactly like our other solution where we call it Aerospike Cloud or DBaaS as we call it internally. But the goal here is that you can run production databases, very, very large clusters, and we can make it automatable for you. So we would have APIs that you can use to provision hardware. We have APIs for you to let's say, add secondary indices. We would separate DDL from DML, which is data definition language from data manipulation language. So this is a big next step, and this can run on your VPC, okay? So essentially, we will bring in our whole automation, if you will, to help you here. And so that's the next thing. So I'll leave you again with this slide. This is where we're going, and we are taking baby steps at this point as we head towards that direction. Thank you, guys.